Hey guys, so I wanted to do a video as well on what is a cult and why do people get drawn to cults. Now, I've never really been drawn to a cult, so I'm not sure really if I'm the best person to make this video, but I've been thinking about it, obviously in light of quite a few sort of cult documentaries at the moment, especially around the twin flame community, which I was a part of. And I think that I kind of know the answer to this question without even having been in a cult. So I actually dipped into these cults, but I dipped in and dipped out. So I saw the whole Twin Flame Universe cult, or group, should I say, being called a cult at the moment on media. I'm not going to name it anything, but it's been talked about as a cult. I did actually see this group right at the beginning of when it got started, and I actually took the mirror technique from this group and I implement it. I'd like to say they didn't invent it. The mirror technique has been around a lot longer than their group, but the mirror technique is great. It works, in my opinion, that we really do, if we look deep, everything is a mirror. Now, that doesn't mean, in my opinion, tolerating abuse or very, very manipulative or toxic connections, but in my opinion the mirror technique still works in those instances. I'm just a little bit more keen on taking action than just acknowledging. So if somebody is abusing their power over me and I do the mirror technique and I'm like, XYZ is abusing me or manipulating me, then I have to mirror that and I would say I'm abusing myself. And that means that I would have to action that as well as be aware of it in my world. So I would think, right, well, you know, by being in this, I'm abusing myself. So that means that I need to work on myself, build my self-love, stop doing that, which means walking away from this group or at least working on it so it transitions and it's no longer this anymore. It doesn't mean tolerating it. It means doing the reflection and that work and then doing something about it. Be that self-work, counselling, therapy, spiritual work, or just leaving. And if something's very toxic, walking away to do that healing, right? Not doing it whilst you're constantly in this sort of toxic cycle. Sometimes I think you can handle more toxic things if you are really in a place where you can not be too dragged into it. But I think if you're vulnerable, you must walk away and sort of do that inner work. That's my personal opinion, but it doesn't mean that the mirror technique's not still true. And if you're being abused, it is because you're abusing yourself by being someone that's staying in that situation. So I still think that the mirror technique works, and I used to be able to dip in, what still can. I can, you know, a cult tends to have some useful advice in it, right? Because otherwise it wouldn't exist. If there wasn't something in that cult that worked, you wouldn't join, because everyone would be like, this isn't working, I'm going, right? Something in it works and you have some benefits and you start to see some growth, which is why you stay. Maybe long term the growth stops, but there is something to be taken. And I thought that was a fantastic tool and I enjoyed it, but I did watch this group and for me I was just astounded because I saw it go from something that seemed okay to and had a useful tool, like I said, to where I saw people start to be paired with people. I was never in the private groups, but just from being in the group, which I think I'm now blocked from because I made a post about it, I could see that there was obviously some very unhealthy things going on, like people being told who their twin flame was, being paired with these people, and you know, being told what gender they were. I wasn't in the private group, so I don't want to have, you know, I more want to use this topic as a growth process and a learning process and picking on something that I don't know too much about on the inside. You know, I can only say that I watched a documentary and I was in that group since the beginning, and to me it seemed unhealthy. That's all I'm going to say on that. But why did people, because I didn't get drawn in, right? I didn't get drawn in. Why did I not get drawn in? Why have I never been in a cult, even though I've been around these cults since the beginning? And I'm not saying I've not joined in some unhealthy things, but I haven't been a part of a cult. And what I start to realize is that people that tend to be very hooked into cults or communities that are harmful is people that don't feel they have belonging, and it becomes like a family. So maybe they struggle to make friends. It's the same. I watched a documentary on a British person that joined ISIS, for example, and that was very similar. They didn't get on with their family. They felt very isolated, and this cult kind of offered them belonging, and it offered them a community and a family. You know, that is how they hook people in, like, you're our family, you're, you know, those words tend to come up. We're family, you know, this is a community. And I'm not saying every community or every person that says that your family is a cult, but that to me is a big warning sign, because it's particularly sort of hoovering up people that don't have good relationships with their family, or they don't have family they can rely on at all, and they're very easy pickings, right? Because suddenly they feel this belonging they've not felt before, or they've not felt for a long time. I'm not surprised it also drew people in that maybe had issues with like identity and what sexuality they were, because, you know, then you've got somebody, maybe their pet, they don't feel accepted by their family, and you've got somebody saying, we accept you, whatever, you know. And I really honestly think this is why a lot of people are drawn to cults and join cults. When I look at it objectively from the outside, the key thing that I notice in a lot of the people drawn to them is that they don't have a strong sense of family, friendship, community, and belonging. And let's face it, in today's society, we have less and less of this. And so I think we're more and more naturally easily hoovered up into cult-like things. And I don't always believe that the people running the cults are bad people. I think sometimes they are. I think sometimes they mean well, and the power goes to their head, because I tend to see this a little bit, that they kind of start out quite with good intentions, or at least it seems that way, and then it's almost like as they amass more and more followers, it's very difficult for that power not to go to your head. You even see it on smaller scales when people are like coaches and stuff, and they think they've got nothing to learn, and, you know, they're sort of the oracle. And it's very easy to slip into that, and it can be quite dangerous, because then you're not growing yourself, and you sort of lost that within yourself, that need to kind of push forwards and keep evolving, because you suddenly see yourself as the oracle and everybody's coming to you for guidance. So yeah, in my opinion, how to not be drawn into cults is to try to, you know, to not need, you know, it's fixing that wound of needing that community and needing that family. And obviously, you know, life isn't fair. That is another video I actually want to make, that life isn't fair. Some of us have much tougher times with family than others. You know, I'm very lucky. I've always had a family that, you know, whatever our patterns might be, they'll always be there for me. They would never desert me. They would never see me like homeless or anything like this, you know. And I appreciate that that is unfair, that some people don't have that. And unfortunately, that is what they are working through this lifetime. And that makes them more vulnerable to these cults and dark communities. And that is just a case that life isn't fair. It's not always exactly, you know, what you want it to be. We've chosen certain things that are for our growth. And I do really believe that being drawn to cults one is learning that we do sometimes have to rely on ourselves. We have to find community and family within ourselves and have a healthy relationship within before we can choose healthy environments and people to hang with, and not sort of, it's a bit of a codependency lesson of it's that desire to be part of a family or a community at our own detriment. And I really think that's what I've observed from the outside looking in on cults. Maybe if you've been part of one, there's something you can identify with that. Maybe you can tell me that I'm wrong. I'm always open to being wrong. And I hope everyone, and my storage continually keeps getting full. So I will love you and leave you, and bye for now.